We're here with our wonderful segment on homelessness, with Putting Power in Your Purpose. And I am pleased, I have the pleasure of Robin Graves joining me today to talk a little bit about her experience with homelessness. And I have to say, Robin, that you and I have known each other for a couple of months, and we talk about a number of things. And as it happened, we were having one of our deep conversations, and you shared with me about having the experience of homelessness. And I just thought it was interesting because I was working on this segment, and I thought, what better opportunity for you to come and share your story. And so I just want to say thank you.
Oh, well, thanks for having me.
And, can you just take me through your journey of when you had to deal with homelessness?
Oh, God. We go through it in college. Most recently was the beginning of this year.
Okay.
I'm renting a place out in Maryland, and the landlord decides they want to sell. And so I get a notice that I have to move January 31st in the middle of winter in our winter vortex. Did what I thought was right and reached out to a brokerage firm and real estate agents. The rental that they had did not meet housing code. And I found myself in the middle of winter with a full-time job, 2 cars, a whole 9-room house, and my pets homeless, working homeless. So I was a little shocked. Part of it is because the cost of living in the area is so priced so high. Part of it is a lot of things now with the housing market, it's based on your credit. And unless you go through a real estate agent or a broker, you just don't know what landlords are looking for. So needless to say, I was homeless for like the whole month of February this year.
Yeah.
Floating around, couldn't get unpacked, couldn't get stable. And we basically, me and a real estate agent got out in a day and put our snow boots on and looked at several properties, and we were able to find one and put an application and explain to the homeowner what happened. And as a result, I had to pay a higher security deposit than I normally would, but I was able to find a place. But it was really stressful, and it was a challenge because I work every day. I did what society said to do, which is to go to school, get educated. So I do have 2 degrees. And it was embarrassing. I couldn't tell anybody at work that I was homeless and that I didn't have any place where I could really eat and lay my head. So I just kind of focused on what I do best, which is my job, and figured that if I save my money and keep looking, I'd eventually find a place. And I did. I found a nice, beautiful 3-bedroom townhouse, and I was able to get in. But that month of being homeless in snow was terrible because people look at you as if you have issues, like, your mind isn't right, you might have mental challenges or addiction issues, and that's really not the case. Mm-hmm. It's just bad timing if you don't have good credit. And then the biggest challenge is coming up with enough money to secure a place. Some places now in Prince George's County and surrounding areas, if your credit's not an 800 score, they want double security deposits. So the rent's $1,700, so I'd have to put down $3,400 just to get in as a security deposit, plus pay the first month's rent, and then pay the prorated amount. And that's not including getting utilities turned on and getting all the services transferred, because you have to be, with the leases, you're responsible for everything.
Yeah, and I know that right now with the market being the way it is, it's a renter's market, so landlords can pretty much decide whether they want to approve you or not. So then you have that struggle of whether the landlord will invest in you even though you have poor credit.
Yeah.
Robin, you represent somewhat of a different face of homelessness, because you're absolutely right. A lot of times people see you out there, you're hardworking, and nobody has an idea of the fact that you're not going home to a warm bed at night. And so tell me a little bit about having to go to a homeless shelter.
With the homeless shelter, the challenge is that you're on their schedule. So you have to be in by a certain time in the evening to secure a bed. Yeah. And then you have to be up and out like at 5 or 6 a.m. in the morning. And then that, graciously, by the grace of God, I had a job to go to. But if you don't have a job, then you're just out on the street at 6 o'clock in the morning. And you have the whole day to wander around and try to stay warm and try to find a place to eat, place to wash up, and you have to be back in by like 5 or 6 o'clock in the evening because they close the doors at a specific time. Dealing with the shelter, you deal with people that do have addiction issues, mental health issues, but more importantly, you deal with a lot of sickness that you can get too, airborne illnesses that you can get from just being in that environment, staph infections, outbreaks of tuberculosis and things of that nature, because some of the people haven't gotten their inoculations or they haven't bathed. You have to deal with the bed bug epidemic that we've had in the area. You have to watch out for lice, because you're not getting the same bed every day. You only get that if you're a family unit, you know, mother and children. But as an individual, you get whatever random bunk that you can get when you're there.
Yeah.
So that's the challenge.
So what kept your mind essentially focused, because you're going into that experience and then you're expected to go in, do a job, and do it successfully. So what helped you to stay focused every day?
Prayer.
Yeah.
I prayed every day. I asked for good discernment. I asked to be brought good, positive people that weren't judgmental, but that were willing to help. Our real estate agent, she was great. She stayed with me every day. She constantly kept me in tune with the process and what's going on. Believe it or not, family. My family's not from here, and they're about 1,100 miles away, and so they were stressed. So my dad and my brother checked on me every day to make sure that I kept my spirits up, and basically told me, you've come too far to give up.
Yeah.
And so that was the prayer and meditation on a daily basis is what kept me focused and kept me from having anxiety attacks about the unknown.
Yeah.
So that was the biggest challenge. But I had a good support system. I mean, I did have friends that said, you know, if push comes to shove and you have to, get your stuff and find a way to get to my house. I had my best friend offer me to move to Phoenix so that I...
So, you know, we talked a little bit about the experience of being in a homeless shelter. And can I ask you, when you were there, based on your observation of folks that are in the shelter, what would you say, for the most part, were the type of people that you encountered?
People that have almost given up on hope. And that homeless shelter is their last stand. It's the last place where they can go to get help without completely breaking down and giving up on ever getting themselves together to go back to what we consider to be a normal life of having their own residence, having their own privacy. You find some people that do have addiction issues, but for some people it's just bad timing. You know, I met one lady that she had to move, and at the same time she had to move, she got laid off from her job as a federal contractor. She couldn't get unemployment. She couldn't get public assistance because it's just her. So now she's homeless. Not because she's not a contributing member to society, but it's just bad timing. You can't go out and get a place if you don't have verifiable income.
Yeah.
So she's going around from shelter to staying with family, but you know, sometimes when you stay with family, it's just a little bit too much for them. So instead of damaging that relationship, you just rather go out there and see what community resources are available to help you.
Yeah.
The Alicia Rudd situation, it had a personal impact on me because I was orphaned at 6 months and raised in foster care. So for me as a woman, it sent a lot of chills through my spine as far as she's out there. She needed her medication. She didn't have it. Nobody knew what type of medication it was. It could have been a life or death situation. She could have been a juvenile diabetic and needed insulin. And in that case, her life was paramount within a matter of hours. The fact that she was given away, and even though she was familiar with the gentleman, that's not the same as family to a child. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Oh, yeah.
She trusted him.
Yeah.
The other thing that had me concerned was her psychological state of mind when we find her.
Sure.
Was she with him when he killed his wife? Did she witness that?
Yeah.
You know, she's going to need therapy and counseling if they find her and she's okay. So I followed the case very closely. I follow a lot of missing children's cases closely and things that deal with homelessness because it's easy for them to get lost in the system. And the system is set up, from my experience, it's there to help you, but you have to be worse than Skid Row to get it. I mean, the amount of paperwork they put you through in social services.
Yeah.
If you're homeless, you don't have an address. If you don't have your social security card, a birth certificate, there's certain documentation, proof of income for 30 days. If you don't have it, they'll deny you, and that's it. And that's what makes a lot of people feel like they don't have any other options when it pertains to finding community resources that can help them. And I understand some people have taken advantage of the system, but you
Right.
can clearly tell if someone's without and that they don't have anything.
Yeah. And so you think the system needs to do better, because I think you think they've kind of failed.
Yeah, the
Failed
system
in that
needs to be
respect.
overhauled because
Yeah.
in Alicia Rudd's case, CPS was involved.
Yeah.
They forgot about her. Nobody checked up. They took the documentations as being authentic. They didn't verify it. There was another case, I believe from the district, and the lady moved to Eastern Shore, where she had adopted some girls and had them in a program, and she killed the girls and was toting them around in a freezer. And every time she moved, they were moving the dead girls' bodies, and how they got discovered was the 7-year-old got out and ran to a neighbor for help. But other than that, they were living right next door to a situation where the kids were being mistreated, starved, locked up, And so it really makes you think about when you say hi to your neighbor, how's your day?
Sure.
Do you really mean that question?
Yeah.
Because if somebody stops and you ask them, how are you today? And they say, I'm not doing good. Will we really take the time or a few minutes to say, well, what's wrong with your spirit and what's going on, and is it something I can do to help?
Yeah.
Or is there a resource that maybe I know about that I can guide you to? And a lot of times we just don't take that extra minute to say, how's your spirit today? And if you ask someone that and they know you and they feel comfortable with you, they'll tell you. It's a bad day, or this is what I'm dealing with, or something like that. And I think society's moving really fast, but we're not really going anywhere. But we've taken the humanness out of our day-to-day interactions with people.
Absolutely.
You
Because
know.
we're all doing supermarket sweeps, trying to get to the next thing in life.
Or just texting.
Yeah.
You know, you spend more time texting it now than you do actually speaking to another individual.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, you know, somebody can speak to you at work and you might throw your hand up and say, hey, okay, and maybe in that moment they really needed you, but you're on your BlackBerry or on your iPhone, you're getting an email, you're trying to rush to a meeting, and so you pass them by and you miss the opportunity. And then in some cases, you know, I had a director at my last permanent job that I had that I talked to him at 4:35 on a Monday, and we were supposed to talk on Tuesday morning. Tuesday morning I got a call, he died that night.
Yeah.
Never got to say goodbye to him. Never know what happens. He's just there one minute as a great guy and then gone the next as a boss.
Yeah, and that's life. And I think that it's important that we live authentically.
Yeah.
We live in purpose. And that's one of the reasons why I think it's important to have these type of platforms to really let people know the importance of living life to your fullest and living your life. From my philosophy, wealth doesn't mean money. It means health. It means living on purpose. It means living in the moment. It means giving. And so that's a wealthy life. So I think a lot of times people need to stop and really think about what is a wealthy life.
Well, I was raised in church, and it's funny because when I ask friends, some of them weren't, but having a background in the church taught me to be of service to other people.
Absolutely.
I've done chicken dinners with the church
Yeah.
where I did waitressing work. That was my first job at 13, was being a waitress for the church barbecue pit. And what it taught me, it helped me build confidence. It helped me build relationships, because we're all put here to have relationship with each other in some form or fashion.
Absolutely.
But that basis in church is what allows me to do what I do today and to be comfortable with it. You know, speaking with you on TV, speaking as a recruiter to other people, giving back to people in the armed services. When I go speak at the military bases, you speak anywhere in front of 50 to 100 people. And I think if I hadn't had that good grassroots foundation in church, the programs on Easter Sunday and Mother's Day where I learned my Bible verse, that I wouldn't be able to do what I do now.
Exactly.
I'd be too timid.
Well, I just want to say thank you so much
Oh,
for
well, thank
taking
you
the
for having
time
me.
to come out and talk to me about something that I consider a very, very poignant journey for you. And I guess before I let you go, I want to ask you about your purpose in life. You know, how do you put the power in your purpose? And what do you see as your purpose, Robin?
I'm learning my shape as a child of God, and I can honestly say, from my ability to talk and relate to other people so comfortably and build a rapport, my purpose is to be the messenger, is to share resources and information with other people, because I realize that once I know it, I own it, so I'm kind of obligated to pass it on to somebody else. Because I can tell you in my journey, both personally and professionally, I've shared resources with people, and it's opened up a whole new world for them that they never knew was even there. So I think for me, it's to be the messenger and to share what I know with anybody that can use it.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. And
Thank
I love
you.
how she says, when I know it, I own it, and I pass it on to others. Thanks, Robin.
Thank you so much.
This is Suzette Salandi, putting power in your purpose.